It is June, apparently, is what I am. What? It's Gemini season, and apparently we have a full moon to talk about. Before that, though, we need to go back just a hot moment and talk really quick about this first quarter moon in Virgo. If you noticed, I missed our Virgo first quarter moon. Good eye. This Gemini season has been a doozy. So we're doing a double whammy today. We are talking about this upcoming Sagittarius full moon. We're also gonna do a quick circle around and pick up that dropped thread, that dropped stitch there of that Virgo first quarter moon. We're gonna talk about it. So I don't know how that Virgo first quarter moon treated y'all, but for me on this end, that T-square between the sun, the moon, and Saturn was just a giant no-go. Everything I was trying to accomplish came to a standstill. I heard from other people that there was a big rush to get a lot done, and yet so many walls, so many closed doors, so many locked windows, so it's no surprise that at this full moon in Sagittarius, we've got some pretty dynamic energy. Let's talk really quickly about what's been going on in this last couple weeks as well. We have finally, as of yesterday, the 31st, the last day of May, cleared the Mercury retrograde shadow. Y'all may have noticed a lot of things quickly come together yesterday that were sort of dangling in midair for several weeks now. I mentioned a moment ago that T-square between the sun, the moon, and Saturn. The sun finally approached and made it through that square to Saturn last Sunday. So some of those blockages from last weekend may finally be clearing up in some way. We are finally able to move forward, albeit a little slowly and maybe a little uncertainly still. At the first quarter moon, we had the sun in square to Saturn and the moon opposite Saturn. At this full moon in Sagittarius, we will have now the moon square Saturn. Right after that, it trines Mars. So some of the theme of this full moon may be that we are done feeling stuck. We are done. We are over all of the feelings of blockages that we've been encountering. We are ready to just cut free. That square to Saturn feels, again, like a limitation, but the trine to Mars brings through this avenue of making progress, a green light where there was a red light just moments before. Mars kind of carves out the rebel path away from Saturn and takes us up and away into Leo land. So we're diverging a bit from some of the mutuality of the sign of Sagittarius, where we are part of a collective, part of a shared culture, part of some sort of broader narrative together. And that Mars in Leo trine really gets us carving away from all of that, cutting our own path. This might be further emphasized by the fact that Mercury is about to meet Uranus on Sunday, just after this full moon. And Mercury, now clear of its retrograde shadow, may also be done. By hitting Uranus, Mercury wants to be free of something. Mercury wants to bring in something very suddenly, and that may correlate with this feeling of breaking away. The day before this full moon, we have Venus in a trine to Neptune, which gives a very dreamy, ethereal, magical quality. And maybe that's part of what's giving us the inspiration and the innovation to break away with this trine to Mars. Perhaps we can use this time to dive into fantasy for a bit, consider what our dreams, our visions, our goals look like, giving a little bit of space to some fantasy, but not completely just for the sake of it. We need some of that ether goodness to inform where we're going next. If we are carving out a solo path in some way and diverting from the collective, we need to know what that looks like. We need to know where the path is taking us, or at least how to identify it to start down that. And we can't leave out Jupiter when we talk about this Sagittarius full moon. And as I film this, Jupiter is on its way to meet the North Node. It's been a bit of a vibe for the whole week since Jupiter is such a big planet and the node is traveling bit by bit every day. So this whole week may have us getting a sense of some sort of destiny, whether that feels overwhelming or positive is really maybe dependent on how Jupiter shows up in our own chart. And perhaps there's a bit of both. Positive things can absolutely trigger feelings of overwhelm. Positive things is sort of a blanket statement, and it doesn't really acknowledge the growth, the leap into faith, the trust that we must have in order to do that growing. So this can be somewhat of a triggering time. There could be an abundance of opportunity showing up for you. There could be pathways that are becoming clear to you. There could be connections happening that allow you to expand in some desired way. But at the same time, I encourage you to ground. I encourage you to nourish and nurture yourself in the Taurus way right now. As you navigate what's opening up for you, remember that you don't have to respond to it all immediately. You don't have to welcome all of it, and do what you can to remain focused on what you do want. Jupiter will bring in lots of anything that's on the table. And so doing what you can to focus on perhaps what the solo vision is, what the cutting away from the norm may look like for you. Staying focused on that and allowing what reinforces those visions to arrive and giving space to everything else. Not everything has to be for you right now, and you don't have to feel pressured to take it on. Okay, let's go ahead and pull some cards. So since we missed our video last week, we're going to do a double pull. I'm going to pull for the Virgo first quarter moon, just so that we have the narrative to carry into what we're looking at the full moon. And we can reflect on those Virgo cards and see what resonates. I'll see you in just a minute. Okay, here is a quick reminder of the cards that we pulled at the Taurus new moon. If you'd like to revisit that narrative or hear it for the first time, I'm going to send you back to that video now. Go ahead and check it out and then meet us back here. We're going to see how we're building on this narrative now. Okay, let's go ahead and pull for our Virgo first quarter moon and just get a look at what we just moved through. What was that? As we discussed, there were a lot of squares, there was a lot of standstill, a lot of pressure, and a lot of desire to accomplish at a time when there was not a lot of direction or avenue to get there. So we're just going to do a quick reflection pull to see kind of what was accumulating at that first quarter moon so that we can get a sense of what we're welcoming in with this full moon. Okay. Let's see what we got here. So energy accumulating at that Virgo full first quarter moon, the Four of Wands, something to celebrate, needing to create a foundation, wanting to lay down the framework, especially around something we desire, something passionate within us, something that we carry a torch for, some sort of rush or feeling or pressure to really get that foundation laid down and to celebrate, something to celebrate. Four is certainly, again, a foundation, and so it shows that we have built something that can contain what we desire, and so there is absolutely an accomplishment there that is worthy of celebration, absolutely a reaching some sort of milestone and acquiring something in some way. Doubts and complications that came up at that time, the Page of Swords. Will I have enough information? Am I able to break through this framework right now and actually get to where I need to go? So there's absolutely some questions here about what we were able to initiate, what we were able to complete. Maybe if we're trying to reach this culmination point, this milestone, how will I get there? Will I be able to communicate the way I need to? Are these ideas sound? Gifts that we were able to work with at that first quarter moon, the Six of Cups, being able to reflect on the past and what went well in the past, perhaps, or in this time of uncertainty, we may have been reflecting on when we felt more together, when we felt more ready to tackle this, or when we knew we kind of had this mindset down in a place that we needed it. And this is also us thinking about what community care looks like, thinking about who we want to connect with and how we want to work together to grow our community, our environment, our resources, etc. There's certainly an emotional component here where we are thinking about how we want to bond with others and what kind of feelings we want to open up to. I love that as a gift. And lessons that we were able to make sense of as we approach the full moon. Okay, maybe some of us were leaving something behind. The Six of Swords, again, we see this little figure on the motorcycle. There's certainly a leaving that comes with this card. It's usually in the face of recognizing that there is no longer a way forward. And so it may be that some of this Page of Swords doubt energy got us clear on what we want to open up and feel, what we want to be connected with, and how we want to be of service. And to do that, to embark on this path, to kind of lay this foundation down, we may have had to say goodbye to certain things. We may be reflecting on when we've said goodbye leading up to this point and recognizing, being able to create meaning from this experience of separation and saying, oh, to get to this place, I needed to leave first. So perhaps some leaving in real time, perhaps some reflection upon a previous separation or departure, and contextualizing what it is that we're experiencing here in the rest of the spread. Okay, we are going to put these cards aside and now build upon this narrative to see what the full moon in Sagittarius is revealing to us now. All right. Part 2, let's check out what the full moon in Sagittarius is bringing us. We are asking about the situation that is culminating now. We're asking about how we can make space for this situation or this revelation, as it were. We are getting a sense of what we are invited to celebrate in the light of this full moon. And lastly, what we are able to release in the light of this moon. Okay. Okay. So, a situation that is culminating now. Eight of Cups. Okay, so we are walking away from something. We are sailing away from something. We are leaving something behind. Perhaps some of that square to Saturn and then the trine to Mars, where we're taking our own path. We are separating from some broader entity. We are resisting the resistance, and we are carving a pathway of our own. Okay. So how we can make space for this situation or this revelation now is the Star. I love this. This really does feel like a magnification of what follows the Eight of Cups, which is the 9. And so in the 8, the Six of Swords that we just saw is more of a mental departure, is more of a decision, is more of a logical sort of vibe. The Eight of Cups maybe defies logic, and it's purely emotional. It may be that it's logical to stay because we have been here and invested in this situation. Logic may tell us that that is the natural move. It's emotion here that is guiding this departure. It is recognizing that what we have built no longer emotionally sustains us. And maybe it never did. Maybe there are questions about what we've put into this and the fear of what we'll experience if we walk away. Now, when we see how to make space for this is the Star, This is what makes me think about the Nine of Cups as well, because it's only by leaving behind what does not emotionally fulfill us that we actually make it to the nine, which is where we get to wish for what is next. So I love this as maybe a higher octave of that feeling. The star is, I am authentically me. I know myself through and through, and I'm ready to emerge, burning away everything that was not mine in order to embody only that which is mine to embody in this lifetime. The star comes after the Tower. The star comes after this period of tumultuous destruction. Maybe feels a bit like the Eight of Cups in terms of the emotional process of separating. It can absolutely feel like a Tower moment. So to make space for this situation, we need to lean into our individuality, into our pure inner essence, into what we are here to do and how we can radically embody that now. Okay. What I'm able to celebrate in the light of this full moon is the Chariot. And how lovely is that? We know, if you've been tuning in here in this space, we've been talking all year about the Chariot because we are in a Chariot year. So really exciting to be at this halfway point in the year at the, we are on the precipice of summer, which is Cancer season, which is Chariot season. So it's very nice to see this Chariot here and to recognize that part of this process, part of this Six of Swords, logically disconnecting, as well as Eight of Cups, emotionally disconnecting, we're absolutely separating from whatever subconscious material has been steering the ship thus far, that has been holding us back from embodying our pure essence, that has kept us bound to structures that do not emotionally serve us anymore. So what a beautiful celebration. We can celebrate that everything that we've been moving through has been helping us do this deep alignment of our conscious and unconscious energies so that we know where we're going. We know who's influencing and who's steering, who has their hand on the wheel. I love that for us. Okay, and lastly, what we are able to release in the light of this moon, the King of Cups. Okay, so I'm thinking that this connects back to the 8 in terms of maybe a role we've been playing or a structure we've been committed to. The King certainly, if you've heard me talk about court cards before, we've talked about how the King is someone who takes responsibility for not only their own emotions here in the Cups, but the emotions of others. What role or what situations have you been in that have asked you to play the King of Cups in a way that may not have been mutually reciprocal, that may not have been mutually nurturing? Where are you taking responsibility for things in a way that is depleting you, that's no longer serving you? Where do you need to call this back home to yourself? Where do you need to call this responsibility back down to only those which you can be held mutually by? So we are able to put down playing some sort of role. And I'm guessing that we don't want to play it anymore. I'm guessing that what we've experienced this season so far has led us to recognize that our pure essence serves a different purpose than performing perhaps emotional labor that is not reciprocated or that is withheld from us in some way. It takes a lot to crystallize, to hold this shape, to be this source of radiance for others as well as the self. And if it's been taken for granted, if it's been abused, if it's been otherwise rejected, or in any other way, shape, or form just not appreciated the way that you've been doing it, or if it has been appreciated but it's just not showing up well for you, it's not holding you, it's time to put that down. You are invited to release that, knowing that it's all through the lens of approaching this Chariot of perhaps this role is no longer right for me. Perhaps some sort of unconscious desire has been catalyzing me to do this, has been compelling me, there's the word I wanted, to be this. And yet, if I really think about it, I'm no longer here to do that.
And it's not a thing of regret. It's not a thing of I should never have done that. It's a recognition that roles serve a purpose and maybe serve a time. And maybe that time has ended. Maybe it's okay to step down from that and realign with yourself. Okay. Wow. 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 Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for being patient. We have quite a story here, and I'm very curious to see how it will end in the third quarter moon next week. So until then, stay hydrated, stay nourished, and stay out of overwhelm. Recognize what you're able to separate from now and know that it's all in alignment with what you're calling in moving forward. All right, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, please like it, please share it, please subscribe, and I'll see you here next week.